In this episode, I tell you why gut health might not be as important as you think. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? My name is Michael Sahno, and welcome to the Sea and Land Fitness Podcast, the podcast of professional fitness. This podcast is, of course, brought to you by Sea and Land Fitness. So head on over to www.sandlfit.com. That's www.sandlfit.com, and check out everything that Sea and Land Fitness can do for you on your professional tactical fitness journey. This podcast is also brought to you by 511 Tactical. Should get that right. 511 Tactical. And 511 Tactical, what do? They make some of the best tactical gear and tactical fitness gear. We use their plate carrier and sandbags for our exercise videos and our exercises. We're also brought to you by Thorne Supplements, the makers of some of the greatest supplements on the planet. Why? Because what's on the outside of the bottle is inside the bottle. They use third-party verification on all of their products. And we're also brought to you by RDX Sports. I have this tickle in the back of my throat. RDX Sports, makers of some of the greatest combat sports equipment on the planet. I use their boxing gloves for my Muay Thai. I use their focus pad mitts for my knee raises. They make a ton of stuff, protective gear. My son uses it when I beat the crap out of him when I'm training. So all of that's down in the link in the description below, and we'll talk about more. We'll talk about more about it later. There. Got it out of my mouth. All right. I am going to most likely tick off a ton of people. I'm going to have a sip of coffee real quick, though. Peter Madeira, this is for you. Oh, heaven. It's my second cup of the day. All right. So I'm just going to dive right into it because I got a lot of ground to cover. So I made a pretty provocative statement at the opening of this podcast. And I'm going to tell you where I got it from. So I don't know if you guys know this. Most of you do. I went to the University of Florida and got a degree in applied physiology, a master's degree, and became essentially, I'm a sports scientist. So a huge chunk of the program is reading journals, medical journals, fitness journals, strength and conditioning journals, academic journals. And so I'm always on the lookout for the latest, greatest stuff. But I am reading a book right now by Stuart. What is it? It's called Science Fictions. Stuart Ritchie is the author, and he's making me rethink a lot of the golden rules that we have in terms of health. He's brought up a couple of them. He brought up the holes in the saturated fat study. He brings up a ton of different studies and basically breaks them down and strips them bare so you can look at, the validity of the study, whether or not the researchers are giving you the straight dope. And one of the ones that really stuck out to me, and I wanted to do an episode on it, is the one on gut health and the microbiota, the microbiome that exists. And we're told, eat probiotics, do all this stuff. Gut health could lead from everything from depression to cancer to heart health to all these different things. And it's a pretty convincing argument. And there's a lot of advertising. Hold on just one sec. And a lot of scholarship on this. What do I mean by scholarship? I mean, a lot of people, dudes and dudettes, sitting in lab coats, going through data and making, real scientific decisions, or so we're led to believe, about the validity of gut health. So I am going to put on my smart guy glasses. My wife says I look like Frank from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I'm going to read you an excerpt from this. And it's important that I read this to you because you'll see where I'm coming from. So at any, and I'm going to start now. At any given time, there's usually an emerging field that's subject to the worst hype. Typically, a few publications with easy to grasp results in big name journals get picked up by the media. Public interest intensifies, and scientists in the field develop a kind of recklessness, feeding the hype cycle with careless and overblown statements. Then, big claims fail to replicate in later experiments, and the furor dies away and normal science resumes. Ultra hype fields include stem cells, genetics, epigenetics, machine learning, and brain imaging. For the past few years, a strong contender for the most hyped award has been research on the microbiome, the countless millions of microbes that inhabit our bodies. Thanks to the hype, the microbiome has been targeted by a plethora of products and treatments, so-called probiotics, drinks or pills that top up the good bacteria in your intestines have become a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's also increasing interest in therapy known as fecal transplant. This is where, no shit, no pun intended, this is where stool samples from a healthy donor, replete with their various microbes, are transferred to a patient, usually via a colonoscopy, but sometimes via swallowable capsules. Oh, gross. Though at first the idea might sound as implausible as it does unpleasant, there is solid evidence for the effectiveness of at least one type of fecal transplant in the case of recurrent gut infections, not the microbiome, but gut infections by the Clostridium difficile or C. diff bacterium. In severe cases where antibiotics have failed to defeat the C. diff but have cleared out all the good bacteria in the process, the fecal transplant allows the patient to have a dose of microbes from someone whose gut is in better shape, helping them win the battle against the bad bacteria. So that's a very single case use when you have an infection and you need to replicate all of this bacteria inside gut bacteria inside an individual's intestines. So continuing, where we should be wary, though, is when the microbiome is invoked as a contributing factor to diseases and conditions that have no obvious link to the gut. This is where the claims and the reality truly begin to part ways. Reading the scientific literature, one could get the impression that the microbiome is the cause of and solution to a truly remarkable array of mental and physical problems. No shit. That's what they're saying. For example, studies have appeared claiming links between the microbiome and depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia. While fecal transplants have been proposed for the treatment of, among other conditions, heart disease, obesity, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and autism. The idea is that the various activities and fermentations of microbes in the gut can produce harmful chemicals that travel throughout the body, causing problems well beyond the intestines. But see, for me, that shows a whole misunderstanding of digestion and the uptake of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals into the body, both macro and micro nutrients. Now, the evidence underlying these claims is usually less than impressive. In the case of autism, the gap between the data and the hype is especially wide. In 2019, a paper in the world-leading journal Cell reported an experiment where the authors had taken fecal samples from 16 children, either with or without autism, with an autism diagnosis, and transplanted them into mice. Wait a minute, human to mice? They then bred those mice in germ-free conditions, meaning that the offspring had known only the human's microbes for their whole lives. Autism is a developmental disorder, so any influence of the microbiome would need to be in effect from the very beginning of life. Depending on whether their guts had been colonized by microbes from autistic or non-autistic donors, the offspring mice were reported to behave differently in tasks that were designed to elicit the rodent equivalent of the symptoms of autism. How do you tell if a rodent has autism? When placed in a cage with another mouse, for instance, those mice that have received the microbes of autistic children were less likely to approach it, thus mimicking autism's social impairments. But that's such a huge generalization. You know what I mean? It could just be they didn't like other mice. They all, and there's no way to know because a mouse can't fill out a questionnaire. They also spent more time burying marbles in a sawdust-filled cage, which apparently relates to the repetitive behaviors often seen in those with the condition. I'm going to have another sip of coffee. Hold on. We're almost done with this. Don't worry. You might think that the link between these behaviors in mice and autism in humans is, to say the least, somewhat tenuous, which is what I was saying. It doesn't even sound like it's... You might also wonder whether such a tiny number of donors could possibly be representative of people with autism in general. So that's very important. We have a small sample size that we're looking at. Nevertheless, the authors were happy to draw an impressive conclusion. Microbiota-based interventions such as probiotics or fecal microbiota transplantation may offer a timely and tractable approach to addressing the lifelong challenges of autism spectrum disorder. They put out a press release discussing the profound effects of the fecal transfer, claiming again that their research implied that probiotics might one day be used to treat the symptoms of autism. So autism is gut health. This is what they're saying. This was all the purest hype. Even setting aside both the study's trifling sample size and its rather questionable assumptions about the equivalence of human and mouse behavior. Yeah, right? The experiment had at no point tested the power of probiotics or transplants to reduce any of the supposed rodent autism symptoms, let alone the equivalent in humans. So it didn't really show anything. All they did was put kids poop up the butt of some mice and said, there you have it. What do you think? The authors also appeared to attempt some spin by omission. Their study had included a second test of sociability in which the mouse could choose to spend time with either a fellow mice or a small object. The hypothesis was that the mice with microbiomes from autistic people would choose the object over the mouse companion, but they showed no difference. And they left it out of the study, which is, to me, unethical, maybe fraudulent. As the science writer John Brock noted in a detailed critique of this study, The authors quickly skipped over this inconvenient result in a single sentence, whereas all the results that turned out to be significant were featured in a full color graph in the paper. So, hyping and spinning such a tiny preliminary study would have been bad enough, but it gets worse. When the biostatistician Thomas Lumley obtained the author's data and attempted to reproduce their analysis, he found that they'd fouled up their statistical tests. They did the math wrong. They'd run the analysis as if every mouse had its own human fecal donor, but there were actually a very small number of donors. So hold on, we're going to go to the next. Shared between the 100 mice. Excuse me, hiccup. When the proper tests were applied, only the marble-bearing results survived, and with the somewhat borderline p-value of 0.03. So what that means is it was very rare that it occurred. Despite those strong criticisms, to my knowledge, the authors haven't responded. So it continues, not all studies of the microbiome are fundamentally statistically flawed, like the mouse autism paper, though many are just as shaky in terms of the over-the-top conclusions they draw. A 2019 study that followed a similar methodology to the autism paper argued that transferring the microbiomes of schizophrenia patients to mice can cause this rodents to display symptoms of psychosis. How do you know if a mouse is psychotic? It concluded by saying that the results may lead to new diagnostic and treatment strategies for schizophrenia. How? Which seems more than a little premature. Nevertheless, it could still turn out that differences in the microbiome do play some role in the complex causes of autism and schizophrenia symptoms, or those of some of the other conditions listed above in mice or in people. However, microbiome researchers need to accumulate solid research over time instead of thrusting into the media every small, possibly p-hack study that finds an effect, claiming it's a huge scientific breakthrough. It might even be the case that the number of press releases is related to the immaturity of a scientific field, with more media attention given to fields with lots of promising results, but fewer well-replicated ones. There have been recent calls from within the scientific community to cool down the gee whiz hype surrounding the microbiome and its associated treatments, and to improve the quality of the research. In the meantime, the grossly exaggerated claims of these papers and press releases provide the semblance of scientific backing to a host of useless, harmful, or just plain daft microbiome-related remedies. A probiotic drink made using microbes found in the guts of elite athletes can supposedly boost your performance. Absolute bullshit. The craze for colonic irrigation, which involves flushing out your bowels with water and comes with ghastly sounding risks like rectal perforation, and a direct-to-consumer microbiome testing company that allows you to discover the nationality of your microbiome. What the shit? This is literally what the shit. This is just ridiculous. It's hype. Companies are making the industry, the probiotic industry is making billions of dollars off of this. What is the thing? So there was something, the biggest organ in the body is, your digestive system. It's the biggest. No, it's not actually. The biggest organ in your body is your skin. Most people don't know that, but that's the thing. But I have heard, I've heard that claim which is weird because there are so many different organs: the stomach, the large intestine, the small intestine. But it drives me nuts. So, one of the things. So I've got more to read for you. So Where is this coming from? This is the AI overview on Google, where they pull all this stuff and they show you where it's coming from. Hold on just one sec. So from the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, challenges and limitations in gut microbiome research. So this is probiotics. If you're taking probiotics, these are the challenges in verifying and validating that you should be taking them. While gut microbiome research is a rapidly expanding and exciting field with the potential to revolutionize our understanding of health and disease, it faces several significant challenges and limitations that can impact the reliability and interpretation of findings. So reliability is whether or not it's actually doing what it says. Is this reliable data to follow? And interpretation is, it's showing you are you getting from the findings, or are you positing, are you postulating, all these are too big, these words are too big, are you guessing that it's affecting things, are you theorizing that it's affecting things in this way, or is it actually showing you, are you interpreting it incorrectly? So there was one thing I brought up, and I have to go over this. So dysbiosis. Okay, so that's something that I came across. I came across this word, and I was like, what is dysbiosis? Biosis. And another word for it, another name for it, is dysbacteriosis. Dysbacteriosis. Sorry. Hi. Third grade reading level. No, not at all. Dysbacteriosis, and it is characterized as a disruption to the microbiome, resulting in an imbalance in the microbiota, changes in their functional composition and metabolic activities, or a shift in their local distribution. So microbiota exists not just in your gut, but in your skin. For women, there is vaginal flora, meaning there's bacteria in the vagina, in the vaginal area. So there microbiota don't just exist in their gut. It's the bacteria. We have we wear like a bacteria suit. Ironically, biggest organ on the in the body, the skin. We wear a bacteria suit that sort of floats above our skin. I know a lot of people are grossed out right now. And it's in dysbiosis basically means that it can become unbalanced when normally dominating species become underrepresented, and species that normally are outcompeted or contained, they increase to fill the void. And it's there could be instances where this happens. You know, radiation therapy, chemotherapy, antiviral drugs, hormone therapy, antibiotics, which can kill off parts of the microbiome, parasites inside the intestines. If you use enemas too much with that gut cleansing bullshit, and certain acute infections can affect this. Okay, but these are all very this is like the least of your problems if all of this shit is happening. You know what I mean? If they're not going to come to you and, oh, you have dysbiosis. No, I've got like a big gaping infected wound. So I need to take antibiotics, you know, and that's going to affect the gut flora. But the idea that we have, you know, just these these out of whack gut biomes, and the only way to save it is probiotics, and we got to get those probiotics. Are you taking a probiotic every day? Are you doing? This is a natural process of the digestive system. If you are eating whole foods, if you are eating a full diet that has everything, all of the macro, micronutrients, all the vitamins and minerals, your gut health is not going to be that far off. You know what I mean? And it just kills me. It kills me. Because it's there's so much bullshit out there. And now there's probably someone who is going to say, oh my gosh, you don't know what you're talking about. There's articles out there that talk about it. Well, let's bring that up. So hold on, sip of coffee real quick. So interestingly, I went through some of the research articles on it. And what I'm finding is that the vast majority of articles on gut health and microbiota are he said, she said articles. They're not really research articles. They're summaries of articles other people have wrote. And in most of those articles, those are just also summaries of something someone else wrote. And those citations, those references are summaries of articles other people wrote. There's this one that I'm looking at right now on my computer. Hold on. Jeez, this is such a large article. Hold on. My nose itches. The interplay between the gut microbiome and the immune system in the context of infectious diseases throughout life, and the role of nutrition in optimizing treatment strategies. So this article, hold on, let's go all the way to the bottom. This article has 123 citations. Okay, so it's cited 123 different papers, and each one of those is just, I mean, this is just a summary of articles. This guy is just this group of researchers, if you can even call him that, is that, you know, they're just regurgitating stuff from other articles. Oh, yeah, Joe said it's a good thing to do. Oh, no, Mary said it's a good thing to do. So that's all these research articles are. Like, here's another one. Aspects of gut microbiota and immune system interactions in infectious diseases, immunopathology, and cancer. So how many citations did this one have? 217. 217. And it is just a regurgitation of other people's opinions. It feels like, because those articles are just regurgitations of other people's opinions. Multiple citations, not really saying anything. Well, they are saying something. They're just not really saying anything of consequence. I mean, when you get down to it, there is very little support in the research, other than researchers saying, well, Pete said it's good. Well, Jennifer said it's good. There is very little to show that there's any validity to the need for probiotics, or the importance of the microbiome doing anything other than it already is doing. 9 times out of 10, people are engaging in high risk activities or no risk activities, meaning they're sedentary. They're not doing anything. They're eating too much. They're not doing enough exercise. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So one of the things I'm reading right here, it's like the complex interplay of factors affecting the gut microbiome makes it challenging to reproduce study results consistently, impacting the reliability of findings. One of the biggest things is reproducibility. You need to be able to reproduce the work. And if you can't do it, it's not reliable. Microbiome research has been subject to considerable overhype, both in popular media and to some extent within the scientific community. Misconceptions and inaccurate claims about the microbiome's role in health and disease are prevalent, potentially leading to unfounded health advice and interventions. For example, the widely cited 10-to-1 bacteria to human cell ratio has been debunked and revised to be closer to 1-to-1, highlighting the ease with which inaccuracies can become entrenched. So there's a thing called causality, and correlation and causality. Correlation is when you have a group of people who are all doing the same thing and they're all experiencing the same thing. So think about some spoiled food. Okay. 3 people eat spoiled food. Okay. And you say, you go to them, what did you guys eat? We ate that. We ate that meat. And you can think that that's the cause, but right now you only have a correlation until you go up, smell the meat, look at the date on the can or the package, or find out how long it's been sitting out on the counter. Then you'll know that that's the cause of it, not the correlation of it. And right now, all they're finding is correlation, and they're unable to reproduce studies and science that they say are the cause of all of these ailments, things that ail you, that just fixing the microbiome with probiotics will cure. So I know that was kind of a rabbit hole, but it's something that pisses me off. I hate when science lies. I don't like it. We have to be better than all of this. We have to be, one, willing to admit when we're wrong, not be skills and try to rip people off by coming up with an entire industry. And we need to be fighting the good fight, trying to help people. And that's why I thought that this was an important episode. And if you're taking probiotics and you're finding a benefit, fine, don't stop taking it. It's probably not hurting you. But what I'm saying to you is that probiotics, from all the evidence right now, are just not needed. Your microbiome is operating and will operate. You don't need to do anything to it. It just keeps on keeping on. I'm going to piss off so many people with this. I'm going to get so many shitty comments. No pun intended. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for listening. As I said, this podcast is brought to you by Sea and Land Fitness, home of professional tactical fitness. So if you want to start your professional tactical fitness journey, head on over to www.sandlfit.com. That's www.sandlfit.com. We've got New stuff. I just got boxing gloves. Woo! RDX boxing gloves and I got to put them in the store this week. By the time this is out, they should be up there. They are great. They are awesome. They're the exact boxing gloves that I use when I train for Muay Thai. So yeah, head on over there. We got an entire sort of little boxing Muay Thai workout thing that I'm going to be giving people, a way to use some of the fundamentals of the sport in a really fun way to work out, so that you can literally go into your backyard, stand on the grass, and just work out, you know, and it'd be great. You'll really like it. So head on over there. We've also got our fitness programs. We got a free one, our sandbag workout program. We've got, what else? We've got our tier 3, tier 2, if you're looking to go into the military. That was a hiccup. If you're looking to go into the military, we got those. They are both $9.99, one-time price, and go over and check it out. We are also brought to you by 511 Tactical. As I said, makers of some of the best tactical gear on the planet. We use their plate carrier for exercises where we want to put weight on the body. What else do we use? We use their sandbags, which are amazing. So go on over and check that stuff out. Link in the description. We're also brought to you by Thorne Supplements. Head on over to the link in the description below to get 10% off through my dispensary, which is on the Thorne website. And if there's nothing on there, there's something missing from my dispensary that's on the Greater Thorne, the Big Thorne website, let me know, and I'll put it on there for you. You'll get 10% off. And finally, RDX, thank you guys. We're carrying their focus pad mitts for the knee raises and their boxing gloves. But if there's something you want to get, head down to the description. Head down to the description. There is a 10% off code that you can use in checkout for anything you can't find on our website. All right, that is all I got for you guys. Thanks. Later, honey badgers. Out.